Good morning. It is raining, and what better to do on a rainy Friday morning than spend some quality time with your AP Euro teacher? Um, this, of course, is a big day. I hope that everyone does their quiz for today. Remember, the quiz is timed, and it will time out at 11:59 tonight. So I really don't think that today's quiz should be a tremendous strain for a lot of you guys. So we won't talk that much about that except take the quiz. Yeah. Now, Monday's test, that may be another matter. Monday's test is more like the your AP Euro test of old. It is really. So what do you want to look at? Well, has a heavy dose of the World War One take-home test that I sent you. Um, First of all, it's totally objective. It has 60 questions, 26 matching, and then of course the remainder are multiple choice. Pardon me. Multiple choice, and the majority of the multiple choice comes from that take-home test that I sent you. Therefore, you have the questions. You look at them. You understand why the answers are the answers. So that will help. Now, regarding the matchings questions, that may, of course, always be the catch. I know, yes, before I forget, it is a time test. The Monday test is a time test, 35 minutes. Normally in a class period, we have 50 minutes. But since there's no SAQs on this test, you don't have to worry about that necessarily. Well, I mean, I won't say you don't have to worry about it. I mean, you'll be pressed for time before it closes. And so, yeah. So what few things to look for? I mean, come on. I sent you terms. Those terms are on there. And we talked about just about all those terms in the lectures. I mean, it contains things from alliances, imperialism, for obviously, you better know what the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance are. Obviously, you better know some of the incidents that came close to tripping war, such as the Fashoda incident, such as the Moroccan crisis, things of that nature. And, there's a significant number of questions. Talks about imperialism, the Opium Wars, the Cecil Rhodes, the Balfour Declaration, things of that nature, and naturally a lot of terms from World War One itself. Right off the bat, the Dreikaiserbund. Now that, of course, deals with the alliances. Jingoism, and then, of course, within the war itself, Gavrilo Princip, the Black Hand, T.E. Lawrence, Gallipoli. The cool thing about this video is that if you didn't get it the first time, you can wind me back and go over it again, right? And I'm just giving you a few here, because why should I give you on one day what you should have been paying attention to for all the days? For example, yesterday, the readership or the viewership of this video was 50. I have 70 something students. I also have it on very good information that a number of my viewers don't even take this class. They're former students who miss me. Can you believe that? Or they're actually, I have some friends who watch this from Colombia, I guess, to learn English. And so, I've been faithful in talking to you about World War I, and if you've paid attention, and I know some of you have, shout out to Mr. Fote, shout out to Mr. Lynn, shout out to Miss Minning, shout out to Miss Sargent. Welcome to Ryle, Miss Sargent. Sorry you had to come here for 2 days and then out the door with the rest of us. I really do appreciate all your comments. But I wish you would say more than just checking in. I don't want you to just check in. I want you to talk to me, about something that, and I don't need this from my ego. I need to know that you're watching, because I also know that a view could mean you turn me on and then turn me off. That's a view. So don't do that. Like, for example, I'm sitting here looking and I notice my viewership just dropped. Maybe they think I'm finished talking about the test. Perhaps I am. Yes, and so yeah, the things you got to focus on studying. That take-home test that I sent you is very valuable, and the terms. And the terms, you say, well, I haven't written them out yet. Well, this is why you write them out. This is why you make flashcards. And this is why you listen to the lectures when we go over the terms. The risk theory, for example, what was that? One day I'm going to learn how to do the group things where I actually have you on my computer screen in front of me. And, I ask questions of different people and put them on the spot like I used to in the good old days when we could get within 10 feet of each other without fearing this terrible COVID-19 things. But yeah, the risk theory was a theory by a German admiral whereby he talked about the idea that Germany might not be able to win a naval war with Great Britain, but they could inflict enough damage on the British Navy that the British Navy would then be in a position where it would be inferior to the navies of, say, Japan or the United States. Therefore, Britain would be not likely to want to wage a naval war with the Germans. Nice idea, but no. But no, I mean, in fact, one of your multiple choice questions asked that very thing. Why did Germany, in the end, why did they lose? Answer: because the naval blockade basically starved them out. I sent you the picture. Yeah, the British naval blockade. Germany had enemy on the left, enemy on the right, Alps to the south, and then the British Navy to the north. And, nothing was getting in or getting out of Germany during most of the war. The blank check statement, for example, that might be worth looking up. Nobody uses checks anymore. In fact, the minor crisis I have in my house is yesterday I ran out of checks. Hopefully they'll be coming in the mail. Jingoism, like I said, Pan-Slavism. Yes. Now, and this is, well, a few of the items will be repeated from the quiz today. The quiz will be much simpler, I think, today than the test. Remember, it's given to people of a different level with different expectations. Okay. The Weimar Republic. Who knows what that is? Well, maybe be worth looking up. Anyway, or the Polish corridor. When I visited Wes in 2016 in Poznan, Poland, the area we were in was in the Polish corridor, or what had been the Polish corridor, which was something that where they took German territory away from Germany at the end of World War I and gave it to Poland so that Poland would have an outlet to the sea. Thereby, if you ever look at a map of post-World War I Germany, post-World War I Germany was actually cut in half. Not in half. It was split. You had most of Germany over here, and then you had the Polish corridor right here, leading out to the Baltic Sea. And over here, you have East Prussia, which is German territory. And it was one of the things that yeah. Oh yes, and I also sent you an email this morning. Did you catch that? I mean, is it important for our purposes for this test? No, but hopefully you recognize the art and you recognize why it's funny. Anyway, shout out to Miss Harwood for being the first to respond to that. So yeah, any questions on that? If you do, comment. If you comment, put it in the comments, and I'll send you an answer as best I can. Okay, it's really kind of not interesting. But it gives you a new viewpoint to look at yourself in the morning when you're teaching. And I just want to go, oh man. Anyway, let's if there are no more questions, and since nobody's sending in their comments, I guess not. If there are no more questions, let's get back to our discussion of the rise of fascism, which, if you'll give me a second, let me pull that up. That's not it. Neither is that. Neither is that. Sorry, they keep popping up. Where did I put that yesterday? Would you give me a second? I hate to be disorganized. There we go. Yes. So we were talking yesterday about Mussolini, and let's see. Yeah, since you're taking a quiz today, I'll cut off in about 15 minutes here. We're talking about Mussolini. Mussolini, of course, like I said, added his own brand to fascism. He had been the son of a blacksmith. He himself was a teacher, a day laborer, before entering politics. He became the editor of a newspaper called Avanti, which is Italian for forward. And in 1914, he broke with the socialists. He had been a socialist and promoted Italy's entry into the war in 1916 on the side of Britain, France, and Russia. Remember, Italy halfway through changes sides. Which, by the way, I'm sure you World War II buffs out there would know that they did the same thing in World War II. He lost his job with Avanti, the newspaper, but soon formed his own newspaper, Il Popolo d'Italia, the people of Italy. He could change his ideas. His one real goal was political survival. Machiavellian. I mean, true Machiavellian. You see a lot of politicians. Their primary goal is to stay in power, to stay elected, and to keep elected or to keep in power. And Mussolini is one of these guys. And by the way, it's not just Mussolini that has that trait. Lots of politicians have that trait. I mean, to be real frank, I don't have a tremendous respect for politicians. Let's see. Oh, good job, Mr. Schuler, I believe that is, talking about the Weimar Republic. Silly mustache? That I don't get. But anyway, thank you for commenting. So back to the matter at hand. After the war, Italy was a real mess. I mean, like I said, Parliament had really ceased to function. Individual ministers had ruled by decree. You know, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of the Treasury, the Minister of Foreign Relations. They basically they were not accountable. Many people felt that Italy had been cheated by the Treaty of Versailles because they had not received the territory that they thought they would get because they were one of the winners. Only Britain and France got that. Gabriel D'Annunzio led the opposition voice to Mussolini. He eventually was driven out, but he had embarrassed the government. Strikes occurred. Workers began occupying factories. Peasants seized the land that they worked on. And the socialists captured the plurality of parliament. And the parliament thus became deadlocked. Many people believe that communist revolution, as had happened in Russia, was the only way out of this dilemma. Mussolini changed sides again and soon supported the upper and middle class nationalists. He opposed socialists. I mean, once again, remember, on the grand scale of things, this is my left hand, this is my right. Left, liberal, right, conservative. If you want to look at governments, socialism, communism, left, and communism to the extreme left, conservative governments are to the right, and fascism is to the extreme right. And so these two governments, these two forms of government, are each other's worst enemy. Conservative factory workers and the like were grateful for these things that Mussolini did. And when I say these things he did, Mussolini was a bully. He was a thug. He was not above beating people, you know, beating up people, intimidating people with physical violence, and yeah, sure, murdering people. I mean, come on. When he was 8 years old, he got expelled from school for stabbing his classmates. So, in 1921, in Italy, an election year, Mussolini and 34 of his cronies were elected. 34 of these other people who felt like Mussolini were sent to the Chamber of Deputies, their parliament. The movement had hundreds of thousands of supporters. They call themselves, wait for it, the Black Shirts. See, today is Black Shirt Friday. Remember, Garibaldi had the red shirts. And when we study about the rise of Nazism in Germany, Ernst Rühn will lead a bunch of thugs who call themselves the Brown Shirts. Back before people would buy uniforms, they would just simply buy shirts of the same color. And so, yeah, calling themselves the Black Shirts, in October of 1922, they began a march on Rome called the Black Shirt March. King Victor Emmanuel III, he was the son of Victor Emmanuel II, refused to order the army out and, you know, control these people. And the monarch asked Mussolini to become his prime minister. It was one of those things where, kind of like when the Directory, the old Directory of France, said, okay, Napoleon, you can help us. I mean, basically, it's like the old saying of having an alligator for a pet. Why don't you have an alligator for a pet? Because that alligator very well may turn around and bite you. And in the case of Napoleon and the Directory, and here in the case of Victor Emmanuel III and Mussolini, as his prime minister, same thing. The march was famous, but it only worked because Mussolini had made political friends first. Mussolini came to power much by thuggery. Like I said, physical violence. But his detractors thought he wouldn't last long, and of course they were wrong. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And once again, it's the economy, stupid. Bad economic times allow, extremists to work their way into government. Mussolini became successful because of the weakness of his rivals. On November the 23rd, 1922, Mussolini was granted dictatorial power in Italy for 1 year. 1 year. By 1924, the fascists had won complete control of the Chamber of Deputies, their parliament. Laws were passed in 1925 and 1926 that allowed Mussolini to rule by decree, meaning when Mussolini wanted to do something, going to do it. Mussolini's fascists resorted to terror to enforce their rules, murdering Giacomo Matteotti, a leading nonconformist socialist leader. As the opposition to Mussolini left the Chamber of Deputies, Mussolini had an even freer hand. For every government organization, there was a parallel organization within Mussolini's fascist party, a mirror organization. Many Italians respected and admired Mussolini because they believed he had saved the country from Bolshevism. And we'll see this. It's basically the same thing that will happen in Germany. When you see propaganda pictures, later on of Germany, or rather Adolf Hitler, speaking to these ginormous crowds that fill the Olympic Stadium in Berlin, nobody forced those people to come there. Their support for Adolf Hitler was genuine. I mean, they loved him. Why? Well, he made changes. Mussolini made the trains run on time. Adolf Hitler found ways to make Germany work again in the middle of the Great Depression. And so, yeah, when you see those pictures of these leaders, those people are out there cheering, and they don't have a gun pointed at their head. They went out there quite willingly. So, getting back to the matter at hand. Many Italians respected and even admired Mussolini because they believed he had saved the country from Bolshevism. Bolshevism, aka communism. Which, here's the thing, and please do make a note of this, that in the 1920s and even into the 30s, nobody was afraid of Nazism, and nobody even thought about Nazism. Adolf Hitler was some crackpot that got thrown in jail in Germany. Nobody thought about this guy. What everybody, including Britain, France, and the United States, was afraid of was communism. Yeah, communism. It's why George Orwell wrote his book Animal Farm, because of this fear of the rise of communism. And so when it says there that many Italians respected Mussolini because he saved the country from Bolshevism, communism, that's sincere. That's accurate. Mussolini's oratorical skills. You remember that in the early part of the 1920s, there is a new medium of public information, and it's called radio. And also, to a certain degree, there's also film. No, they didn't have television, but there were movies. And in the old days, and by the way, I never saw this, so shut your face. In the old days, before the advent of television, people would go to the movies, pay a dime, and go see a double feature on a Saturday. And between the two movies, there would normally be what was called movie tone news. and it would be a news report. A news report that was canned. They had a can of film for it, just like they had a can of film for Gone with the Wind, et cetera, et cetera. And so you had, but most people began to listen to radio. And so a leader's oratorical skill, his ability to speak effectively, was a great weapon going forward. And Mussolini could speak. He could jack up a crowd just like Adolf Hitler could. Adolf Hitler could as well. In fact, Adolf Hitler was better than Benito Mussolini about rousing crowds into a fury. But yeah, Mussolini, his oratorical skills and his general intelligence, he was an intelligent person. And, unlike myself and certain others, being smart doesn't necessarily mean that you're a good person. But yeah, his oratorical skills and general intelligence allowed him to hold his own in large crowds and with prominent individuals. I mean, he's a smart guy. He actually met with the Pope, and actually, for the first time since the Italian state had been created in 1929, Mussolini worked out a peace agreement between the Roman Catholic Church, since most Italians are Catholic, between the Roman Catholic Church and the government of the state of Italy. And that's the first time that had happened since this new country called Italy had been created. Oh, I'm sorry, get back to it. So, yeah, his enemies, Mussolini's Italy's, were either driven out of the country or were murdered. Mussolini was not to be toyed with. He was Machiavellian. He, in a long tradition of Italian rulers, he was not above bumping off his oppositions. And then, of course, his peace treaty, the so-called Lateran Accords of 1929, Mussolini and the Roman Catholic Church made peace. Because since the inception, since the creation of the Italian country, the Roman Catholic Church and the Italian state had basically acted like the other did not exist. There was no friendly relations between the two. As it says there, since the 1860s, the Roman Catholic Church had been hostile to the state of Italy. The agreement recognized the Pope as the ruler of Vatican City and the Catholic Church. It also recognized the Roman Catholic Church as the official religion of Italy, exempted church property from taxation, and allowed the church to govern marriage, and gave Mussolini public respectability because he now had the endorsement of Il Popo, the Pope. And so, and so Mussolini was riding a wave of success by 1928. We'll see how long that lasts. Okay. I think that's where we're going to cut off today. You have a quiz that you need to make sure you take. That'll take, I think I allotted 20 minutes for that quiz. But yeah, so good luck with that. And have a good weekend. We go back to, you have a test Monday. And study the take-home test from World War I. Study your terms. I mean, you have 35 minutes to finish that test. And so, yeah, good luck. And this is me. I'll be signing off. I'll see you Monday morning. Mm-hmm.